What's going on, guys? My name is Nick, or Olson Auto, and in today's video, I know the title is a little interesting. So I purchased a new dirt bike. I bought a KX125 a little while back, sold it for my own reasons. Wasn't my favorite thing. Big reason I sold it is it was a two-stroke. Obviously I knew that when I bought it, but I don't know, I'm more of an enduro person, so I ended up selling it. And then I bought another bike. The bike that this whole video is about, and the reason you clicked on this video. Alright guys, but before we get into this video, I'm going to go ahead and ask that if you like it, be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell so that you're notified on every upload I make. I don't upload that much, I won't be spamming your inbox or anything like that, but if you do like the video as well, be sure to drop a like. And if you have any questions at all about this bike, my other bikes or cars, be sure to comment them down below and I'll answer as fast as possible. You can also go ahead and follow my social medias, they're just Olson Auto. All the information will be in the description of this video. Anyway, let's get into the review. So, chances are if you clicked on this video, you're looking for some sort of supermoto or a dual sport. And I believe the bike sitting in front of me right off screen is probably the best option for that. And I'm going to tell you what it is right now, and I'm going to tell you why. This is a 2001 Suzuki DRZ-400s. It's a single cylinder, liquid cooled, 400cc 4-stroke. This thing is a torque monster. Now, some things to know about this bike. Like I said, it's a 2001 400. It is fully street legal. Now normally they come with a slightly bigger taillight. It comes down to here. I'm still looking at getting a smaller one, but you got taillight, blinkers, plates, mirror. This is a fully street legal bike. Of course you have headlights. And if we go ahead and flip the key, as you can see, you got the digital gauge cluster right there. All the lights work. So the big thing about this bike is it being street legal. And I'm going to tell you why that's such a big deal for me, and why if you're looking at a dual sport, that should be a big deal for you too. So I used to race enduro, and you'd have to always take a trailer or take a truck to get wherever you're going to ride, or break some laws, risk getting pulled over, and risk getting your bike impounded. But the awesome part about having a bike like this is it's fully street legal. Now, the DRZ-400E is not street legal. That has bigger cams in the engine, a different exhaust, a slightly different subframe setup, and it doesn't have a speedometer. I think it has an hour counter. So they're not street legal. Very similar bike, and you can put the 400E parts on the 400S, but there's no reason to go the other way. The 400E produces slightly more torque, slightly better for the woods, and slightly different transmission as well. It is a 5-speed transmission. Sadly, it's not a 6-speed. It would be much, much better on the road if it was a 6-speed, but 5 gears is plenty, especially for what this bike is built for. But having a bike be street legal is super efficient because you can just ride down the road, ride to your trails, and then just ride the trails. What I'm running for tires on this are sort of an 80-20, so 80% woods, 20% street, and I do that mostly because I prefer riding in the woods. That's why I bought the bike. If I want to ride in the street, I'll take my CBR 600 or my Shadow Bobber. But I'm going to talk about what I did to this bike, some things other people do, and I'm also going to get into some common problems, and then we're going to do some riding footage. So, this bike has a Cerebus X Factory bark busters. They're metal with like a plastic coating. Super good in case you go to smack a tree. I would recommend anybody who buys a dirt bike get bark busters. I don't care if you're a woods rider, motocross rider, get bark busters. Also have the Pro Taper pillow top grips and the little donuts just because they look cool, and the Pro Taper pillow top grips are great for absorbing vibrations, so those are awesome, and they're like 10 bucks. We have a super grippy seat cover, and now this is essential for the DRZ-400, primarily because when I first tried to do some fat nooners, some good old wheelies on this bike, I was literally slipping off the seat and like falling onto the fender. Not that I was getting like, you know, crazy high air. I'm not good at wheelies, but the seat cover sucks from the factory, so threw a new seat cover on there. I also have a phone mount right here, which is awesome to be able to have directions, and if you want, you just have your headphones in your helmet, leave the phone right there. Super, super cool. There's also, I didn't install it, but the previous owner put an FMF silencer on it. Looks a lot better, and it sounds incredible. Let me give you guys a little startup and show you what it's like. So I bought this bike with 4,600 miles. I think it's about 4,900 miles on it. I would have been riding it more. The one problem this bike had, and I'll just tell you guys, I found it on Facebook Marketplace. I was looking for a new bike. I was looking to sell my bike. I wanted this, essentially. But these bikes, Supermotos and Dual Sports, are notoriously expensive and they hold their value really, really well. It was originally posted for 3,500, and then I was looking at it, but that's just out of my price range. The guy updated the listing, and within an hour of him changing the price to 2,800, I messaged him, and that's how much I paid for this bike. The only problem this bike had was the battery, and that's because at some point I believe someone had a GPS on here, like one of the Garmin GPS's, and there was a little USB charging port and it was like wedged in the battery. So the battery had a little short because of that. The battery kept dying, and once it dies enough times, it doesn't hold a charge. So I just put a good old $28 Amazon battery in it, and it seems like that's all I needed. Obviously it starts right up and it runs great, and I have absolutely no complaints with this bike. From a standpoint of the person I bought it from and the bike as a whole, it seems to run amazing. But that being said, we're going to go over some of the common problems with these bikes, what you can do to fix them, and if they're really that expensive to fix. So I'm going to start with this one right here. Now these bikes, they cold start a little funny. You really do have to play with the choke. It's a two-stage choke. So you have normal, and then it clicks out one more. I still haven't mastered it, but I've gotten it decent. But in this area, and speaking of carburetors, the petcock on these bikes is atrociously bad from the factory. Everybody either swaps out this petcock or adds in a secondary. The owner before me added in the secondary petcock, so right here is off, just puts a little valve in, and this little piece right here goes in between the factory fuel line. Normally you would change this one to turn it on and off, however, it's not perfect and it doesn't always turn. Again, you can get a new petcock, or you could add an inline petcock like this, which I would recommend this because then you never have to touch that. You could probably do this in about 5 minutes, just fuel line, throw this on and you're good. So that's an awesome fix. And considering we were talking about differences between the 400E and the 400S, I mentioned the cams. You can obviously swap them from the E into the S, but the carburetor on the S is actually a little bit smaller. So if you do decide to buy one of these bikes and you're looking for some more power, you can always swap in the 400E carb as well. So I haven't personally had a problem with it yet, but this is the ACCT, the Automatic Cam Chain Tensioner. Now, people who already know this bike and are watching this video for whatever reason are probably going to scream at me for not switching that to a manual cam chain tensioner. There are no problems with this engine. It runs healthy. There is no reason to switch it, but in order to make this video proper, I have to address it. People do swap out the ACCT for a manual cam chain tensioner, the MCCT. It's about a $50 part, and it's really not that much labor to do. I haven't done it yet because I haven't noticed any issues. The reason people switch them out is because this will over tighten, supposedly, and cause excess wear on your timing chain. Again, I haven't had a problem with that, so I'm just going to keep riding it how it is. If I notice a problem, it's worth rebuilding. I mean, I don't think anything will happen. It's Suzuki. I've had nothing but luck with these bikes, so I'm going to keep it stock. If I start noticing some problems you may notice, it'll become more difficult to start when it's warm. It'll run a little funny when it's cold. Those are just some signs of a bad ACCT, or too tight of a cam chain, or too loose. Sometimes they don't tighten enough. Those are just some problems I figured I'd mention because that is the biggest flaw of this bike. Another flaw, and pretty much the last thing that anybody really complains about, is the case. Now, most dirt bike cases are made out of a magnesium type material, which makes them really, really weak. That's why I have the big ol' 1/4-inch aluminum skid plate right here. Nothing's gonna penetrate this, I promise you that. But as you can see, this entire side case covering your water pump, and with the water pump and your clutch basket, it's all magnesium. So you add these little, sometimes they're steel, sometimes they're aluminum. They stick right on, they're called case savers. Now it's basically so if you drop the bike and say your brake lever gets shoved into the engine, it'll hit this instead of hitting the engine, which would cause an oil leak and then your engine's toast. So that's what these are. As you can see, it's on both sides of the bike. Again, this one's for the shifter. and it's pretty much essential. If you're gonna buy one of these bikes, you gotta get some case savers. And lastly, just gonna go over some parts I recommend. Like I said, the seat cover and grips is super cheap. The seat cover is still not perfect. Still working on finishing it up, but it's decent for now. The YZ85, my old race bike, had an amazing seat cover. That went really well, but this bike is just going bad for some reason. Anyway, seat cover's great. The skid plate is practically essential. If you don't have a skid plate and you're gonna go riding off-road, you're asking to put a hole in your case. Some people remove the kickstands from these bikes. Don't do it. It's a dual sport. You're meant to go on and off the road. I can take the thing to Target to go grab a gallon of milk, or I can take it through the trails and do fat nooners to the woods. Whatever you want to do. Hey, race car. 01 DRZ-400s. Let's take her through the woods and see how she does. I don't know how much gas it has. Hopefully enough. By the water, you know what I'm saying? This thing just eats, bro. She just eats the dirt, dude. It digs right in and it just goes. You guys will see all those lines and whatnot on our way back down this road if we take it. Oh, that didn't get tightened when I did the bark busters. That's funny. Alright, probably should tighten that, but I lied. We're not going to go down that trail. That trail's awesome. There's a better one up the road. It's a bit more challenging, but it is a lot more fun. So this is the new trail. Let's rip. Such a fun trail. There's already logs down. Oh yeah, that's right. There's like a hurricane that hit. So I gotta go slow, guys. I can't rip through this one like I ripped through the last one. I don't know if there's a downed tree or something. I also don't want to destroy it too much because it may or may not technically be a riding trail. Obviously it looks like it, but I think it might be a walking trail. I don't know. It's fun to ride though. Getting hella air off these sticks, bro. This is the little rock I want to hit. It launches you into that trail, guys. It's so fun. So I'm just going to go up here and blow a quick U-ey when it clears up. I want to go up these rocks first. Show you guys what this bike can really do. As far as hard enduro is concerned, she just don't want to go too fast over this. So fun. This thing just hops, dude. Just hops and hops and hops. Alright guys, so that was some enduro trail riding on the DRZ-400s. That bike it's just a smile machine, and the reason I got it was A, it's street legal, the KX125 wasn't, and B, it's a 4-stroke. A lot of people will complain that the bike's too heavy to take through the woods. It's a heavy bike, it weighs a little over 300 pounds. I have had absolutely no problems with it. I'm not a tall person. I'm like 5'9", it's a bit tall, I should probably lower it a little, but I've had no problems riding this bike. It's torquey. You can be in first, second, or third gear through the woods, whereas with the KX125 or even any real 2-stroke, you really got to ring it out, and by the time you're ringing out a 125 or a 250, you're going way too fast for just a nice cruise through the woods. So I'm going to be on a 4-stroke to the day I die. I love this bike. The power band is super down low, as you guys can see in the video. You can just blip the throttle and it just goes. And even on these 80/20s, it grips in the woods super well. The suspension's amazing, and it is fully adjustable, so you can adjust the dampening on the front forks. So you can literally take this thing to the track and drag knee like a normal supermoto would, or you could take it to the woods or on a motocross track. It's very versatile. I haven't touched it yet. It's perfect how it is. But with that being said, I want to thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to hit that like button. Comment down below what you think of this bike. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, I'll be sure to answer them. If you want to follow my social media, all the links are in the description below. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.